Rob is saying, how is the Islamic prohibition on riba or interest handled in Iran and other Islamic countries? Is it illegal for lenders to offer loans with interest? Well, I don't know much about most Islamic countries. I know a little bit about Turkey. I know somewhat more about Iran, but we could learn this together. Okay, so I know when I was in Iran, there are banks with interest. You could gain interest on your money. And how do I know that? Is because I opened the bank account and I had interest. And I think I remember I had 24% interest on my savings in the bank account. And you were like, oh my God, 24% interest. That's amazing. How is that possible? Well, if you adjust that for inflation, you realize that's not good at all. In fact, you're losing money. So no, that's not very good. I mean, that's how it used to be. I don't know what the interest rates are now, but that's how it used to be. Now you still have that, but how is that possible? How is that possible? Getting interest on your money? That's illegal. That's haram. That's riba. Is that how you pronounce it? Riba or riba? Or what we know is interest bahre is haram in Islam, and banks in Iran offer it. So how do they do that? It's an Islamic country. How do they allow that? And the way I think they allow that is by acting like it's not interest. But let's actually look at that. So, all right. Okay, let's look at that together. Let's look at this together, and let's look at, for people who might not even be familiar with what we're talking about, let's look at what this is. Really, okay, I'm just going to read it really quickly. All right. Riba. Okay, so I'm reading the Arabic riba, right? Or riba or riba, all right? Is an Arabic word that can be roughly translated as usury, right? Or unjust I always have a problem with reading this one. Exploitative gains made in trade or business under Islamic law. Okay, this is like not true. We were told like any form of interest is riba. Okay, so yeah, somebody in the live chat is confirming. Yes, they dance around it. They dance around okay, it as if it's not interest or not. Yeah, I don't know. I think you wrote it. Guys, like check your comments before you are posting. Yes, they are. Yeah, so basically they act like it's not interest. Like, but we'll see. We'll read that together, okay? I think that they act like you're making profits off of something. So what my understanding is that they just rename it. Like they act like it's profits, but it's fixed. So it's interest, but it's like, or fees for services. Like fees for services, how is that fees for services? It's basically interest, but they try to this is what Islamic banking is. Islamic banking is just like renaming things that already has a name in a way to act like if it's Islamic. Okay, so it goes, and riba is mentioned and condemned in several different verses in the Quran, and here are the verses if you want to see. And perhaps most commonly in this one, okay? It also mentioned in many hadiths, okay? While Muslims agree that riba is prohibited, not all agree on what precisely it is. It is often used as an Islamic term for interest charged on loans. Yes, this is what I'm familiar with. It's basically interest charged on loans. So basically, if you don't have, by the way, I want you guys to understand, okay? Basically, if you want to have Islam, the entire world economy has to go bankrupt. Okay, you cannot have an economy without interest on loans. It's impossible. Which shows that the Quran and Hadith are so idiotic. Okay, true Islam means the crashing of world economy. This is why. So this question by our patron over here. So you're saying how, when you ask, Rob asked, how is the Islamic prohibition on riba handled in Iran? even without me answering it or without anyone answering it, you have to guess. If you had to guess, you should guess that they allow interest. Okay, there would be no country that does not allow interest. They have to figure out a way to misrepresent interest, redefine interest as something else. Okay, because every country has an economy, but you wouldn't have an economy if you don't have interest on loans. You wouldn't be able to have projects. You wouldn't be able to do anything. Okay, you wouldn't be able to fund stuff if you don't have interest on loans, right? So, and then continues, and the belief this is based on that there is consequences among Muslims that all loan back interest is riba from the basis of a $2 trillion. Okay, wait. And the belief this is based on, forms the basis of a $2 trillion Islamic banking industry. Oh, okay. So what it's saying, because in Islam they believe interest on loans is haram. By the way, if you read the hadith of the Quran, it's pretty clear. It's one of those things in Islam in the Quran hadith that is pretty clear. You can't dance around it. Interest on loans is haram. Okay, but this has started an industry called Islamic banking, which is worth $2 trillion. And what this industry does is try to find a way to have interest on loans, but use different vocabulary. Because a lot of people think so they have no interest. So Islamic banking is banking with no interest. There's no such thing. There's no such thing as banking with no interest. Everything in banking is about interest. So, if you're in the finance industry and you want to do finance with, Islamic countries, you have to become familiar with how Islamic banking is done. And it's mostly just some vehicles around, financial vehicles around making excuses for why this is not interest. But most people in the finance industry, when they go and try to do business with all these sheikhs and stuff, they have to learn this. They have to understand what Islamic banking is, right? And they have made an industry of doing, some people are making money out of knowing the tricks around Islamic banking, right? And it says, however, not all scholars have equated riba with all forms of interest or agree whether its use is a major sin or simply discouraged or makruh, or whether it is in violation of Sharia, Islamic law, to be punished by humans rather than by Allah. Oh, some people are saying it's haram, but maybe you shouldn't do anything about it. You should allow it. Allah will take care of it in hell. Okay. However, let's actually continue this. Let me see. Ibn Qayyim is saying Islam is bad for business. Yep. Every religion is bad for business, but especially Islam. Ibn Qayyim is also saying, hold on. The Imam at our local mosque said it was permissible to pay interest on mortgages, but not on anything else. Why? Where does that, how does they come up with this? Where the hadith says every interest, but not mortgages. Yeah, it said riba is haram, but until this day they're arguing about the definition of riba. Yeah, but the way it's used, it makes it very obvious. If you actually go read the hadith and the Quran, it makes it very obvious what it's talking about. Especially to even non-Islamic scholars, it's very clear what it's talking about, because this is a copy of Jewish law, right? Jewish law also has prohibition on interest, and Islam just copied that. I think that's where the source is. But anyways, let's look at this. Let's look at Iran, because the question was about Iran, but I want to mention something about Turkey as well. Okay, actually, let me mention about the Turkey part first, and then we'll go back to Iran. Okay, so in Turkey, this Islamic prohibition has caused disaster. Okay, because in contradiction to every single theory on monetary policy in every country, which suggests that when inflation goes up, the central bank needs to increase interest to fight inflation. In Turkey, there's one person, Erdogan, who thinks it's exactly the opposite. And when you ask him, he thinks like, no, we should lower interest. Like the inflation is like destroying the economy of Turkey. And instead of increasing interest, as you would when you're suffering with inflation, Erdogan is like doing the exact opposite thing, which made inflation even worse, which is reducing interest. And why is he doing that? Is it because of Islam? Are we just being anti-Islamic and we want to blame everything on Islam? No, he said it. He says it's because of his Islamic belief. Okay? So millions of Turkish people's lives are being ruined because of Turkey's economy is suffering from one man's Islamic belief, which is an anti-interest stance that he's taking in Turkey. So I don't know if you guys know this. Yeah, Erdogan needs to go. I agree. Ibn Qayyim in live chat is saying Goldman Sachs said on Friday it expects annual inflation in Turkey to reach almost 80%. What? Before easing to 60% by the end of 2022. Guys, I don't believe these numbers. This is just in the live chat. Somebody go verify these. That doesn't seem right. But I mean, if it is right, then you guys are screwed. But just imagine, like, because when people talk about the cost of Islam, all right, they just like imagine somebody going boom boom because they, somebody with a belt. I'm not going to say it because you two might think I'm saying something that I shouldn't be, right? But that's what people imagine. But these boring stuff that most people don't pay attention to. These are the true cost of religion, okay? So, for example, if I think about the horrors of Christianity, okay, the first thing that pops into a lot of people's minds is a priest and a child. That's the first thing that comes into people's minds, okay? And that is horrible, okay? And it's a huge cost that we're paying because of religion, but it's not as high as all the people in Africa who are spreading, who ended up spreading disease, or in the Philippines, spreading disease because of the Pope's stance against, condoms, all right? Like, that's not, like, so many people to this day are paying a huge price for that, especially in places where populations are much higher than they should be, and people are suffering, millions of people are suffering in poverty because, like, partly because of overpopulation, and you're telling the people of that country that condoms are bad, okay? So, but it's boring. Like, more people are suffering from religion through these things, but it's boring. But one person going boom boom in a street, again, that's a big cost, but a very small cost compared to what I'm talking about the millions of people's lives being ruined in Turkey because of one man's Islamic views on interest. Yeah, so Ibn Qayyim is saying Turkey's inflation for the month of May rose by an eye-watering 73.5% year on year. It's the highest in 23 years. Guys, that is insane. Are these real numbers in the live chat I'm reading? That's insane. And again, really bad, like the dumbest of all, like every single person that this man put in charge of the finances in Turkey, they were against him. And every time they would try to fix it because they understood that this man is like insane and is just destroying the economy, he just fired them. He just kept on firing them until he found finally a puppet that was just do what he will told him. Because everybody knows, every financial expert in Turkey knows that this man is like insane. He's doing the opposite of what he's supposed to be doing. But his reasoning, like people like ask him, like, why are you doing this? He says it's because of Islam. Ali Hamad is saying, is there any example of a country being prosperous without interest system? Well, there is not an example of a country without interest, period. Like, let alone prosperous. Like, guys, it's unimaginable. Okay, yeah, a country that is like that, like, has no economy, probably. Like, guys, do you understand that you for any project you need loans and interest, like, to do anything? No, there is no such example. Anyways. Guys, this is secular jihadists, where we yell about interest. This is where we get passionate about the utilities of loan and interest on loan. This is the channel. This is why you come here. Oh my god. All right. So, Mo, I'm going to have a hard time reading your questions, okay? But I'm going to try, okay? Because Mo has 2 questions. And after that, let me actually post the link to... If you are... oh, actually, no. Before. Wait. Let's go back to this question. I wanted to show you something. Hold on. No. This is cool. Okay. Let's go back to interest. All right, guys, let me know if you have audio. Okay, so as you know, hey, wait, I forgot to talk about Iran. Wait, I have to, before I show this video, let me actually talk about Iran a little bit, see what they do. Okay, here. Monetary policy. So this is Iran's Central Bank of Iran. And if you go to inflation, okay. Where is it? Hold on. So I want to see what excuse they come up with. There we go. Okay. Islamic banking in Iran. So to answer the question, because we forgot to answer the actual question here. Okay. But then I want to show you 2 videos about how the Sunni Shia divide over riba in Iran. Okay. So here, after the Islamic Revolution, the central bank was mandated to establish this is in Iran, by the way, to establish an Islamic banking law. In 1983, the Islamic banking law of Iran was passed by the Majlis. The Majlis is the parliament, okay? This law describes and authorizes an Iranian Shia version of Islamic commercial laws as differentiated from a less liberal Sunni version. According to this law, Iranian banks can only engage in interest-free Islamic transactions, as interest is considered usury or riba and is forbidden in Islam and the Holy Book of Quran. These commercial transactions that involve exchange of goods and services in return for share of the... Okay, so these are... Okay, so this is what they do. These are commercial transactions that involve exchanges of goods and services in return for a share of the provincial profit called Mubadala. Okay, Mubadala. Okay. In practice, Iran uses what are officially termed as provisional interest rates as rates paid to depositors or received from borrowers should reflect the profits or losses of a business. Okay, so what they're saying is that this is not interest. This is kind of like interest, but you're not getting interest on your loans. What you're getting is that you have like invested in the bank, invested in the business, and these are profit or losses. Okay, so they're pretending like this is not interest, but it cannot not be interest, because if it was profits or losses, then if the bank suffered, your return would be lower, and if the bank did better, your returns would be higher. But you're getting a consistent rate, like you're getting like consistently 24% or whatever they told you. Okay, so by definition, if it's consistent, it would be interest. If it goes up and down, then you invested in them and you're getting profit or loss. If it's consistently the same, then by definition, it's interest on loan. Okay, so under these rules, deposit rates known as dividends, right, are in theory related to a bank's profitability. Yeah, exactly what I said. Right. In reality, however, these dividends have become fixed rates of return Depositors have never lost their savings because of losses made by the banks, and almost never received returns larger than the provincial ex-ante profit rates. Interest charged on loans is presented as fees or a share of corporate profits. Okay, so guys, some people might say like that's not true, Armin. Dividend stocks give you a consistent dividends, okay? But again, it's not set. Like you could buy a stock and it gives you dividend, and then they could decide that, oh, this year we're going to increase the dividend, or that year we're going to reduce the dividend, okay? But when you get a loan and it's supposed to be 20% every year, okay, it's going to be 20% until the loan expires. Like it's not going to be go up and down based on what the board decides or what the shareholders vote. Okay, so that's different. But here, let's go to the criticism, which will tell you probably what I just said. Criticism: critics believe that the Iranian interest-free banking, so see, they call it interest-free banking laws, but they give you interest. So they're just fooling everybody. They're like, they're fooling Allah. They're fooling Allah. They're trying to trick Allah. Okay. Hopefully he doesn't recognize. Hopefully Allah doesn't have a finance degree and he doesn't understand anything you're doing here. Okay. So Iranian interest-free banking law has simply created the context for legitimizing usury or riba. In reality, all banks are charging their borrowers a fixed preset amount at a rate of interest that is approved by the central bank at least once a year. No goods or services are exchanged as part of these contracts, and banks rarely assume any commercial risks. High-value collateral items such as real estate, commercial paper, bank guarantees, and machinery eliminate any risk or loss. Okay, so without the risk or loss, because you have collateral and stuff, this cannot be like profit or loss. Okay, this is loans. These are debts. In case of defaults or bankruptcies, the principal amount this is the key. This is part of like loans. Okay, in case of defaults or bankruptcies, the principal amount, the expected interest, and the late fees are collected through possession and or sale of secure collaterals. Exactly like what you expect with a loan, okay? Because shareholders get paid last, okay? The people that you owe money to as in loan, they are the people that get paid first. Well, the government gets paid first if you owe any taxes, but they're ahead and they come after every collateral that you have, right? But so it's basically walking, quacking, doing everything like a loan and interest on loan, okay? So that's what people like. You're not fooling anybody. Maybe you're fooling Allah. I don't know. You better be fooling Allah, or else you're gonna burn for all of this. If you'd like to send me your questions for me to answer during our Q&As, become a patron. If you would like to have a discussion with me live on air at the end of the Q&As, become a YouTube member. Link to both is in the description. Thank you for your support.